I'm joined by Equality New Mexico Executive Director Marshall Martinez. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Reproductive Rights and Gender Equity Attorney from the ACLU of New Mexico, Deanna Warren. Thank you all for being here. Deanna, I want to start with you. We spoke with some of your colleagues from the ACLU just after the November election, and they were telling us about what they were anticipating as we were preparing for President Trump to re-enter the White House. Have things turned out as you all expected?
What I can say is that I think we all anticipated that post-inauguration there would be extreme shifts. I think the rate of those shifts has been the most surprising thing. We're seeing it sort of
faster than you expected?
Yes. So the way in which they're enacting all of the things that they promised in Project 2025 has just been so much more rapid than we could have anticipated. But the focus of their enforcement has been what we anticipated in immigration and public safety and reproductive rights and attacks on LGBTQ plus communities. Those are all things we anticipated and all things that we're seeing being realized through their policies.
And your colleague, Maria Martinez Sanchez, told us she expected the ACLU to need to shift from being more proactive in your approach to reactive. Has that borne out?
So far, I think it's a mixed bag. So I think on a national level, the ACLU has filed 110 actions to date in the first 100 days of this administration. So some proactive work there in filing lawsuits, a lot of sort of preliminary injunctions and things like that to stop the administration from doing some of the things that it's doing. And I think in terms of being reactive or defensive, our work has really focused on preparing communities for what's coming, so know your rights things, and really working with our close partners to ensure that we all know how to protect ourselves, because it's very clear that this administration is going after the communities we care about.
And Marshall, that we've seen an onslaught of executive orders targeting the trans community, from defining sex as either male or female as designated at birth, to banning trans people from serving in the military, gender affirming care for young people. Is what we've seen what you all at Equality New Mexico were expecting?
Yeah, I think is absolutely what we were expecting. Just to echo what Deanna has said, I don't think we were expecting one a day for the first 2 weeks, but this is exactly what our community was prepared for, and I just want to remind folks that the entire election season leading up to this, like this administration, this president as a candidate was saying very clearly these were going to be the priorities, right? I think the one thing that I feel like is important for folks in New Mexico to know, especially about the LGBTQ community and so many of these executive orders, is that these are conversations that oftentimes are happening in an abstract way in the White House, and trans people existed before any previous administration acknowledged them, recognized them, or made space for them in the administration in federal entities, and they still exist. And an executive order saying that only men and women exist, and that that assignment from 30 seconds after birth lasts for their entire life, that hasn't actually changed whether or not trans people exist. The fear, the harm, all of those things are real, and also policy does not actually legislate identity for people.
You talked a bit about just how rapid fire these have been coming out. Was that something that you've felt challenged to track, to respond to, just the how fast it's coming?
Yeah, this was a real shift for EQNM. We're a 32-year-old organization who's focused on state-based policy work for the entirety of our history. I, as an individual, choose not to engage in federal policy work for lots of reasons. And the most immediate shift we had to make was that it became so clear that we did not have the luxury to not acknowledge what was happening at the federal level. And Equality New Mexico, the Transgender Resource Center, the ACLU, so many of our partners were constantly texting each other saying, like, who's gonna take the response to this one? Okay, there's been another one in the last 20 minutes. Who's read it? Who's ready to respond to it? Who's the right messenger? And and I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, we're so fortunate in New Mexico that the message after each and every one of those was so frequently, hey, New Mexico state policies mean that this isn't going to impact you the way you might be thinking based on a headline.
Yeah, and we will talk about more about state policies and whether they serve as a protective measure. I'm interested in hearing about the impact of all of these federal changes on the communities you serve. Deanna, what are you hearing from community?
Yeah, the impact has been significant as we anticipated, particularly on our immigrant and refugee community members. As you know, the large sort of extent of what the Trump administration has done has really focused its efforts on immigrant communities and fear-mongering and creating a sense that enforcement is at every corner. And so we know that as a border state, we have extra scrutiny. We're surrounded by a lot of states that are doing the administration's bidding in terms of immigration enforcement. And so we're really seeing that significantly impact our immigrant neighbors.
We also know that with Democrats lacking numbers in Congress, the courts have kind of emerged as a key player in holding the Trump administration accountable, kind of an effective check on the executive branch. How are you using legal challenges as a tool for accountability at the ACLU?
Yeah, so our team of attorneys has, like I said, filed a couple of cases here locally in federal court, as well as our national ACLU folks who have been continually filing actions against the Trump administration's policies. I think you're right. The judiciary, in theory, should be a check on executive authority. I think what we're seeing is a little bit of fear around how different courts are going to react to the Trump policies. I think our state courts might take a different approach, and our federal courts at various levels, right? Our district federal courts versus like the Supreme Court, all of those courts are interacting differently with this administration, and the administration is reacting in some surprising way to court orders, and that gives everyone a lot of pause.
For folks who may be not familiar, what is some of the difference? Can you broadly describe what the difference might be between the courts?
Yeah, so locally we have our state courts which can hear really any challenge, any case. Federal courts have to specifically hear cases that have to do with federal law or have some federal issue. That means our state courts really can be involved in a lot of things, but we also have the situation in which any federal court in the entire United States is able to issue like an injunction, which means just stop the administration from doing something, and that will have the impact of stopping that thing from coming to fruition in all of the states. And so it really is a game of back and forth and between all of the courts.
Well, this isn't anyone's first Trump administration. Marshall, what feels familiar from the president's first term, and what feels markedly different this time around?
Yeah, I mean, I worked for a different entity and was focused on reproductive health rights and justice work during the first Trump administration. And what feels the same is the new shock in the news cycle every single day, and the sort of whack-a-mole, like try to set up a whack-a-mole situation in which people who are resisting, to use the word that so many folks have held on to since 2016, feel compelled to resist to a new action every single day. This feels very much like the first administration in that and I think that that's by design, right? The flood the zone, I think, is what we've heard as a part of the sort of strategy. What feels different is that in the first administration, it was abortion access one day, and then it was Muslim folks at airports the next day, and so there was a scatter shot, and it feels like this time it's very clearly It's about immigration and it's about trans people. And then it goes back to being about immigration in education, and then it goes back to being about trans people in the military, right? And so it does feel a little more focused. And I think that the impact of that is that it's a little more harmful to those communities in some ways. One of the, I won't call it a benefit, but one of the things that came out of the first administration was that I think that folks felt like they were one of a dozen targets. Trans folks felt targeted, but they weren't the only ones, and they knew they might get a break for 5 or 6 days because the focus was going to be on somebody else.
So the weight maybe feels a little heavier.
Yeah, I
for this
think it
tactic.
was distributed more evenly in the first administration, and this time it's so incredibly clear. It is immigrants, and to be clear, it's brown people, right? Like, we got to say it is people with brown skin in our communities, frankly, whether they're immigrants or not, that are feeling the brunt of those attacks. And it is trans folks, and sort of, you know, as a result of the way our society views LGBTQ people, it's queer folks too, because so many folks don't know the difference between us. Any sort of variation in gender stereotype kind of gets you looped into transness. And so those two groups of folks, queer and trans folks and people with brown skin, are really feeling the weight.
Marshall, thank you. Deanna, we're going to pick this conversation back up in about 30 minutes right here, and start to look more at state policies and whether they're doing the service of protecting New Mexicans amid these federal changes. Thank you.